Hey, welcome to the first installment of Insights and Secrets from the Big Stage. In this video, I'm going to talk about monitors and your hearing. What's the most valuable instrument you own? It's not your $3,000 guitar or your awesome keyboard. It's your ears. These things you can't easily replace, and they are the most important thing in allowing you to reach your potential as a musician. Doesn't matter what genre of music you play, where you're doing it, how you're doing it. It's all about, first of all, being able to listen and being able to understand what you're hearing and react with knowledge. Think about how much money that you have spent on gear. Like, maybe you don't want to think about that, but even as an enthusiast, it's a lot, right? This is really important. So I say you got to protect it and you got to make an investment in it. When I was touring, it was mainly during the 80s and the 90s. It's a whole different world out there. My hearing is screwed. I toured a lot as a hard rock drummer. The sound of a snare drum, rim shots all night, and cymbals, let alone the monitors, let alone anything else, can be really damaging if you're like me, a really heavy-handed player. Back in those days, we didn't have a lot of options. If you put in earplugs, you couldn't hear things clearly enough. Nowadays, we have IEMs, in-ear monitors. You owe it to yourself to buy a pair. I promise you, it is a purchase you will never regret. Sure, they can be expensive. They can be thousands of dollars. They can also be $100 or $200 and still be great quality. So let's talk about that. For those of you who already have inner ear monitors, you don't have to watch this video. You know the drill. The rest of you, let me explain to you why I implore you to buy yourself a pair. First of all, they sound amazing. They sound better than headphones, right? Because the sound is right in your ear. Secondly, you can hear your sounds clearly. It doesn't matter if you're a guitar player, a synthesist, and you're trying to tweak patches, a drummer, and you want to hear exactly how you're hitting that ride cymbal with the tip of your stick or something. The amount of nuance in ears is unsurpassed in any other form of listening to music. Secondly, you probably have a rig that you can hear your gear okay now. How well do you hear the other members in your band? If someone on the other side of the stage has a really great night or a really off night, unless you have a really good monitor person and really great monitors, you might not even know. You want to lock in with other musicians? How about hearing exactly what they're playing? The dynamics within ears, unsurpassed. Something I had no idea about until I got my first pair of in-ear monitors. When you put them in, they block out the external sound. I use the custom fitted type, which I'd highly recommend. They block out the other sounds so much that you can listen way lower. When you go out on stage, your monitors could be way quieter than you've ever heard them before, and yet you still hear everything with precision. It's incredible. Because they block out so much ambient and external noise, like up to 35, 40 decibels, it saves your hearing. You will also get less ear fatigue during your set. The other thing about it is if you're playing something, whether you're a drummer, a singer, a guitar player, a keyboard player, bass player, whatever, you're actually hearing the instrument more the way the audience is hearing it, especially if you're in a small venue. You know, it's like when you're on stage, I mean, most sound on stage is not great. The really good sound system is out there in the front of house, and the people are eating up a lot of the sound. The sound is usually pretty good if you got a good sound man in a small venue. In a large venue, it's a different story. I can't tell you the amount of times where I played a set, and then I listened to the board tape later, and I said to the sound man, I was like, wow, man, it doesn't sound like anything like what I was hearing. As in, man, my floor tom should have sounded like this, and it didn't. And I couldn't really hear my hi-hats out front, and, you know, or as a keyboard player, gee, there should be more sizzle on that sound, or this one should be really, you don't know, because what's coming out of front of house is different than what you're hearing in your monitors. When you have IEMs, it gives you the insight to what the electrical sound of your instrument, once it's mic'd and processed, as opposed to the live sound on stage. Another thing, you're a singer, you want to hear yourself really clearly, no feedback, right? I've seen bands go out, they have no floor monitors, no side fill. They're all using IEMs. There's nothing to feedback. That will save your hearing. How about this? Perfect sound anywhere on stage. You're a guitar player. Oh, you decide to go over to the keyboard player, the other guitar player, rock out with the bass player a little bit, but now you're farther away from your amp. How'd you like to be able to walk anywhere on stage and be able to hear yourself perfectly? And where you are, you can hear everyone else in the band very clearly, usually setting your own mix Doesn't matter where you go on stage. The other thing, doesn't matter what venue you're in. You go in your rehearsal hall, the band rehearses for days, you get everything tweaked, you get your song list together, you get your endings solid, you get your mix tweaked, you go out on tour, same sound. Night after night after night. You're playing a shitty bar with bad acoustics. You're playing an outdoor festival. You get an opening spot in some big venue. Doesn't matter. Your sound is almost identical every night of the year, every gig that you do. Doesn't matter where you're playing. It does so much for your playing and for your band's ability to play tightly together or lock in those harmonies. Incredible. Your band wants to go in the studio and do some recording. Great. You bring your rig. You take the mix that you work on painstakingly in your rehearsals and you go on stage with that. Then you go in the studio with it. Same thing. You can be running the sound of your gear into your in-ears and you have that comfort zone. You're not putting on headphones which make you disoriented at first. Here's something else. You use them with your iPhone, whatever. You're listening to music all the time on them. So you get to the point where you understand exactly the frequency range that's being operated when you're listening to tracks. You're listening to your favorite album. You're listening to a classic album. You're listening to the recording that your band did last week. You've got the same reference all the time. You know exactly how much top end there is, what the dynamic range is. Do I have too much echo on my instrument? Is it too dry? I mean, basically, you're able to all of a sudden tailor things very specifically. Basically, you're giving yourself the opportunity to more critically assess your sound, your performance, your interactions with other musicians, your dynamics. All that money you spend on gear, you'll be able to find out if you're optimizing it to get your sound or the sound that works with your musical project. Doesn't matter what style of music. This is my thing. Okay, this company, Jerry Harvey Audio. They're the bomb. Come in a nice metal case. Man, these things are so good. When you get these made, they take molds of your ear. You have to go to a really good audiologist. Most manufacturers will give audiologists instructions on how best to make the ear mold that they're going to make your in-ears out of. These ones, they inject way into your ear canal, much longer than is needed. The reason they do that is when the professionals that are making these one-off earbuds with the drivers in them, you can have one driver, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 drive, whatever. That depends on how much money you want to spend and what instrument you play. Because they have an understanding of the inside of your ear canal. How does it twist? How does it turn? How thin is it? They can optimize their drivers to make sure that they deliver the most accurate sound to your eardrum. This company, Jerry Harvey, he used to be a monitor guy for Van Halen before I worked with Van Halen. He started a company called Ultimate Ears, which was the first high-end in-ear monitors. It was a game changer. He's since sold that company, and now he makes Jerry Harvey. Amazing stuff. These start at about $1,000 a pair, US. They're not cheap. All different models, depending on what you want. They go up to maybe $3,000 or $4,000. Aerosmith, Lady Gaga, Sting, Tool, Nine Inch Nails, Peter Gabriel, Foo Fighters, Puff Daddy, Billie Eilish, like the list goes on. It's the who's who of successful musicians all over the world. But you don't have to spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. I looked online. There's all sorts of companies doing it now. Ultimate Ears is still operating. There's a company called Sensophonics. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're all custom fitted for your ears. Most of these companies make them with a built-in mic so you can use them with your phones. You can use them all the time. A lot of the companies offer a Bluetooth option so you don't have to have cables. I wouldn't recommend that, but get this. Just found out there's a new company called Waves. It's spelled W-A-V-S. They do inner ear monitors, custom fit, starting at $119, and they go up to about $400. Now, I should let you know, I don't have an endorsement deal with anybody. I don't get a penny from anybody for talking about any of their stuff. I have no relationships with any of these companies. I'm just telling you what I know. So this new company, Waves, you take your iPhone and take a 3D scan of your head and your ear with your iPhone and send it to them. So you don't have to go to an audiologist and pay them $100 or $200 to have ear molds made. Pretty innovative, right? And from what I've heard, they sound amazing. You can get a custom-fitted set of in-ears that you make a digital impression for $119. Still too much money. Decibels makes earplugs, and they also make headphones or in-ear monitors. They're not necessarily for musicians. They're not as high-end. They don't have all the drivers, but they're $49. If you want to get the Bluetooth ones, they're $79. It's like, you can afford that, right? Like, you owe it to yourself. Once you get a pair, and I think you should get a pair, you got to clean them. Outside, inside, there are ports. They give you little brushes, and maintenance of them is really important. You should make sure you keep your cables in good shape. If I were you, I'd buy a spare cable. It's going to cost you $30 or something. The last thing you want is your cable to get damaged and you can't go on stage or you can't hear. All these cables on all these companies, they just pop right out. So I would always recommend getting a backup cable. When I got my in-ears, it changed my life. And I think you deserve to buy yourself a fucking pair. Okay, not this brand. Get whatever you can afford. Once you've had the experience, I think you'll realize it's an amazing investment. Here's my only standoff concern about the whole inner ear monitor thing. First of all, if you're rehearsing with a band and you guys want to talk, you either have to pull one of your in-ears out or you have to talk in a microphone. That kind of sucks, but it's worth it. A couple of years ago, I was in Vancouver for a few weeks rehearsing for a big tour with a band. It was an electronic band from the early 80s that I had worked with. I'll upload a couple of the music videos that we did together on YouTube here. So it's a band of 6 guys. The band had never toured as this lineup before. A couple of guys that were completely new to the project. So we certainly don't have that sixth sense you get from playing together all the time. We don't really know each other very well musically or personally at all. We were sweating away there in a professional musical rehearsal zone for weeks. Everyone in the project had in-ears, so we all had our own mixes. Everyone gets as much of everybody else as they want or as little of everybody else, pan to left or right or whatever. The problem was we're prepping for a big anchor date called Roxodus. Roxodus was a big, big music festival with tens of thousands of people. The artists were like Cheap Trick, Alice Cooper, Billy Idol, Peter Frampton, Aerosmith, Nickelback. Literally, there were 40 bands, mainly from the 80s, at a big outdoor festival. The system we were using for a mixer was a new one. It was a cooperation between Behringer and Midas. There was no monitor mixer. Everyone mixed their own monitors off their phone. Really? Yeah. Everyone downloaded the app, and on their phone, you've got the whole mix. And you can just tweak, who do I want to, how much do I want to hear of everybody? I'll just pan it. Man, I just was not down with that. First of all, the sends to most of us were running on Wi-Fi. And even though you've got a backup Wi-Fi router, what happens if there's a problem? Not good, right? I ran wired. I was on a leash. Not a problem. I had 3 Roland drum brains. I was playing all electronic drums. I had the samples from all the original albums. I had snare drum, kick drum, and percussion samples from each song, from every hit, from every album. But my concern was, as a drummer, I got 2 hands on sticks. I'm whacking away. And what? I'm supposed to reach over if I have a problem with my mix and make a change with one finger? My biggest concern was, what if my hands are too sweaty? What if it's too sunny and I can't even read my fucking phone? The Roxodus concert, which was our anchor date, got canceled. All our flights were booked. The hotel was booked. It was a shit show. But aside from that experience, the in-ear thing has been amazing for me. I use it when I DJ now. It's so great to be able to hear things so clearly at such a low volume. I use them when I mow the lawn. When I want to tweak a synth patch, I don't use near-field monitors anymore. I put in my in-ears because I have a reference of everything else I've been listening to for the last few years. I know exactly what it sounds like in these things. Anyway, that's my rant. Protect your hearing, buy yourself some fucking in-ears, and you will become a disciple just like me. That's my first installment of Insights and Secrets from the Big Stage. Thanks for watching.